Hey toy fans, I'm D21 Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're once again taking a look at those lovable heroes in a half shell. That's right, we've got another Ninja Turtle review for you today. And today we're taking a look at the 2014 movie version Donatello figure released by Playmates. Now these Ninja Turtle figures are available individually, but I happened to purchase mine in a box set that had all 4 turtles that was exclusive to Target. So let's go ahead and get things started by taking a look at that packaging. Alright guys, taking a look at the packaging, as we come across the front of the box, what you're going to see is an image of the 4 turtles from the film on the left. You will see a window box packaging that features all 4 turtles from the film, along with their accessories going from left to right. You can then see that this box is made up of various shades of green with the Ninja Turtles logo down in there at the bottom. And off to the right side it does say that this is the Ninja Turtles Group Pack by Playmates. Flipping this package around now, you do see in the upper left-hand corner some images of the turtles from this movie. You've got the logo for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well as a bio. Go ahead and pause now to read that. On the right, you do have the images of all the other figures in this wave, and at the bottom, you do have a complete look at the figures that are inside this packaging. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. Let's go ahead and get back to the Ninja Turtle that we're reviewing today. Alright guys, well here we have Donatello out of the packaging, and let's go ahead and get started by taking a look at that sculpting. The one thing I've noticed with the Leonardo I've already done and this Donatello is that these turtle figures actually have an amazing amount of sculpt work that's done on them, more than we've seen in the past from any other Ninja Turtle series before, and I really appreciate that about these figures. I mean, look at all the detail on Donatello's head with his goggles, he's got his nose sculpted. As you look around, there's a faint amount of texturing on the arms. There's all this work on the front of the shell, his armaments, wraps on his legs. We look at the back, he's got all of this detail on the back of his shell, all this technology, and even the shell itself is sculpted pretty nicely. I really like that about these figures, and I definitely think that's a highlight of the wave. Where I think these figures are a little bit lacking, unfortunately, is in the paint work. Now, you'll notice there's a lot of just black used everywhere on this particular figure. There's not a lot of paint variation. We do have some purple for the bandana and some other wraps, and then just some brown on the arms here, but there's several details on the turtle, like here around Donatello's wrist, or if we look on his legs, you're going to see a lot those wraps that aren't painted. There's just a lot of detail on this figure that isn't really painted, well, in detail. And I definitely think that's a bit of a failing of the line. Now, they probably did that to make these figures more affordable, which is great, but at the same time, the figure just has a way of looking sort of incomplete. But I do like the sculpting, so I definitely have to make sure I make a point to say that. This Donatello figure only comes with one accessory, but of course it's the only one he'd really need. We have here a bow staff that's kind of made out of this mustardy, almost greenish colored plastic. And this bow staff is definitely sculpted to look like an item that might telescope, kind of like a telescope or an antenna on a radio, something like that. Now, I watched the movie, and I don't remember Donatello ever pulling out this canister-sized object and then just telescoping it into a bow staff. So I don't know if that's part of the concept art that they just never used in the film or what, but that's definitely what this bow staff looks like it's meant to do. Now, of course, the toy itself doesn't actually go in or out. It stays completely open the entire time. And the item fits, or the bow fits, pretty nicely into Donatello's hand. You can just go ahead and squeeze it in there. It'll fit in either hand really nicely. Unfortunately, the articulation on this Donatello figure keeps you from getting some really good two-handed bow staff positions, but we'll touch on that in articulation. And also, this Donatello figure doesn't really have any bow storage. Now granted, this item's probably supposed to be a lot smaller than it is here when Donatello's got it in storage, but since the figure doesn't have a bow staff that does collapse, or even a second accessory that shows a collapsed bow, it would have been nice to throw some sort of storage for this weapon on the figure. And the closest you're going to get is kind of lifting the hose on this, I don't know, backpack that Donatello has, and you can kind of rest the bow staff in there, but that's not really how this is meant to work. Really, just whenever Donatello's not holding his bow staff, you kind of just have to set the weapon to the side. And since all these other turtle figures we've had in the past have bow storage, I'm just a little disappointed that this Donatello doesn't. Okay, taking a look at articulation, we can see that this Donatello does have a head that'll rotate a full 360 degrees. It is on a ball joint that allows his head to move up not very far at all, and not down very far at all. And that ball joint is pretty loose, so his head will come right off, but it's no problem, it just pops on without any sort of issue. He does have a shoulder joint that allows his arm to move a full 360 degrees, and he does have a hinge on that shoulder that allows his arm to move out from the body, only that far. There's no bicep rotation, but there is a full 360 degree rotation at the elbow, and his elbow joint does bend down that far and back that far. There's no wrist or finger articulation, and that articulation is copied on the other side. There's no waist articulation on this figure, but there are what I believe are some ball jointed hips where the leg will come out this far and it'll go back about that far. There is a single jointed knee that bends forward that far and bends back that far, and a full 360 degree rotation at the knee. Now, as I mentioned with the accessories, because there's no wrist articulation, this Donatello figure just can't hold his bow staff in both hands, and that is classic posing for a Donatello figure. So I'm a bit disappointed about that. I mean, sometimes you can kind of work the bow around and get the arms sort of moved so they're kind of sort of holding the bow with both hands, but you aren't going to get very dynamic action poses with Donatello holding his bow staff. In fact, right now it looks like he just wants to play around a pool. Taking a look at the height now, we can see that this Donatello figure does stand at right around 5 inches tall, maybe a little shorter. For some size comparison, here we have 2014 movie Donatello compared to the 2003 animated series Donatello figure. And here he is compared to the Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Shell series Donatello. And finally, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite series Wolverine. Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie version Donatello figure released by Playmates. And overall, I feel about this figure very much like I did about Leonardo. These Ninja Turtle figures from the new movies are definitely milestone figures. If you're a collector of Turtle memorabilia, you have to get this guy. But if you're not a huge collector and you don't have to have every Ninja Turtle out there, these may be a bit of a pass for you. I'm very middle of the road on these toys. They've got excellent sculpting, and of course, they're the latest incarnation of a new form of the Ninja Turtles, but the articulation is a bit lacking on these guys, and I find it a big turnoff when it comes to these figures. It's just really hard to get these guys in any sort of poses. Because of the way that the wraps around the waist work on this Donatello figure, you're not really going to get him to do much more than standing. So, you got to take that into consideration when you consider these figures. I also feel like there was a bit of missed opportunity with the paint work. It's just not as complete as I'd like it to be. Alright guys, well that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to rate, share, and subscribe. Also be sure to hit me up on Twitter at D21Beast. Thanks for watching, and cowabunga!